Hello and welcome to Module 8.6b, Operations with Radical Expressions, Multiplication. Our objective for today is that I can multiply radical expressions. Example 4, multiply radical expressions. To multiply radical expressions, group the coefficients and the radicals together, then combine the radicands under one radical and simplify. Unlike addition, any radicand can be multiplied. So the first two are examples that are pretty similar to what we saw a couple modules ago. So the first thing we need to do is we don't have any coefficients, so we are going to combine this under one radical, 3 times 5, and the result is 15. When we multiply, there are no common factors for us to pull out. Letter B, we have the square root of 7 times square root of 2. We are going to combine that under one radical, and it is the square root of 14. Now, letter C, is the first time we're gonna have to deal with coefficients. So we have a 2 and we have a 3. So we group them together at the front, 2 times 3. And then we're gonna combine our radical, and we've got a 6 times a 12. Well, 12 we can break out into two parts. We have a 6 and a 2. And hey, look, we've got a pair of factors that we can bring out of our radical. So when we do that, we're going to have 2 times 3 from up above, and we're bringing out that 6. What's left inside the radical is a 2, and so when we simplify that, 2 times 3 times 6 is going to be, well, 2 times 3 is 6, times 6 is 36, square root of 2. All right, so there are 3 for you to try. Go ahead and do those now. All right, letter D, square root of 4 times the square root of 12, or times the square root of 3, well, that's the square root of 4 times 3, which is the square root of 12. But I think we need to go back and revise that, because if we look at it, square root of 4, well, that's 2 and 2, which gives me a pair of 2's to bring out, and it's 2 root 3. Now, could you have done that before you combined the two radicals? Absolutely, you could have. It's there. It was something you could have done. I just decided to combine them to show you. Letter E, we've got the square root of 6 and the square root of 10. We combine that under one radical, and we multiply them. 6 times 10 is 60. Well, what is my factors of 60? We've got a 4 and a 15. 4 is 2 and 2. 15 is 3 and 5. So where are my pairs? I have a pair of 2's that I can bring out, and I'm left with the square root of 15. Letter F, we are going to group our coefficients together. So we have negative 3 times 2 times the square root of 3 times 15. 15, let's break it apart. We have a 3 and a 5. What are my common factors? I have a pair of 3's on the inside of that radical that I can bring out. So I bring down the negative 3 times 2 from above, times the 3 that we extracted, and times the square root of 5. And when we combine these, negative 3 times 2 is negative 6, times 3 is negative 18, square root of 5. All right, now example 5, we are going to be multiplying radical expressions by using the distributive property. It works the exact same way as distributing radicals did, or multiplying radicals did before. Now you're just going to distribute it to every term inside the parentheses. So letter A, we've got the square root of 3 times the square root of 5 plus square root of 3 times square root of 2. So when we simplify that, The square root of 3 times 5 is the square root of 15. The square root of 3 times 2 is 6. And that's my simplified version. I cannot combine that anymore. There's no like radicands. So I am done where I'm at. Square root of 15 plus square root of 6. Letter B. We've got 4 root 7 times 2 root 8. So let's group it together. We have 4 times 2 times the square root of 7 times 8. And then we've got plus, we've got 4 root 7 times 3 root 7. So that's 4 times 3 square root of 7 times 7. All right, now our next step, breaking common factors. 8 breaks into 4 and 2, which is 2 and 2. And on the right side, there's no common factors for us to break it into. So what do I have pairs of? I have a pair of 2's. I have a pair of 7's. So we extract those. And we've got 4 times 2 times the 2 we extracted, and what's left is the square root of 2, plus 4 times 3 times 7. What's left is nothing, so the square root is gone. And so now our final step is to combine our terms and do the multiplication. 4 times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. And we've got 4 times 3 is 12, times 7 is 84. So that was square root of 2 plus 84. Oh, we also had, hold on, we got to go back and check that, because we had another factor that we didn't extract, and that was the 7 there. So it's 2 times 7, and so this would be square root of 14. All right, so it'd be 16 square root 14 plus 84. All right, we go on to letter C. We have 2 root 2 times 3 root 8. So that's 2 times 3, and then we combine the radicals, 2 times 8, plus 2 root 2 times 3 root 32. So we have 2 times 3 square root of 2 times 32. Break it into our factors. We've got a 2 and a 4. We've got a 2 and a 2. 32 breaks into, well, that's going to be a 2 and a 16. And 16 is 4 and 4. All right, so now we need to extract our pieces. What are our common factors? Well, I've got one pair of 2's there. I've got another pair of 2's there. I've got a pair of 2's there and a pair of 4's there. So when I go ahead and do that, we have 2 times 3 times 2 times 2 plus 2 times 3 times 2 times 4. 2 times 3 is 6, times 2 is 12, times 2 is 24. Plus 2 times 3 is 6, times 2 is 12, times 4 is 48. You add them together and you will get 72. All right, now I want you guys to take a look at the 3 you try problems, D, E, and F. Do them on your own and then check your work against mine. All right, so at some point you're going to start to transition where you're going to be able to identify these perfect squares without doing the math on it. But let's do this. We got 2 times the square root of 6, or square root of 2 times square root of 6, so that's 2 times 6 plus, we have the square root of 2 times 18. 6 breaks up into 2 and 3. 18 breaks up into 2 and 9. And that's 3 and 3. So my common factors, we have a pair of 2's, I have a pair of 2's, and I have a pair of 3's. So we have a 2, what's left inside is square root 3, plus we have a pair of 2's and a pair of 3's. What's left in the radical? Nothing. So we get 2 root 3 plus 2 times 3 is 6. All right. Letter E, we distribute negative 4 root 6 to 7 root 12. So we have negative 4 times 7 times the square root of 6 times 12 minus, and we've got 4. So we've got a minus, and we've got negative 4 times 4 times the square root of 6 times 8. And I'm going to move this all over so we're not running into my next problem as much. So you have to keep in mind that we are distributing that negative to a subtraction. So it might be a little more easy to think of it as we're multiplying negative 4 times negative 4, right? Because this would be thought of as plus a negative 4. So we have a negative times a negative there, right, to keep track of that. So when we do that, our variable terms, so 12 is 6 and 2. Let's see, 6 is 3 and 2. 8 is 2 and 4. 4 is 2 and 2. So now we look for our common terms. We have a pair of 6's there. We have a pair of 2's, and we have a pair of 2's. So when we go ahead and identify that, we're going to bring out, we've got the negative 4 times 7 times 6, and we have a square root 2 left. And we have a plus 16. I did the negative 4 times negative 4, just to simplify it there, times 4 square root of 3. And now we need to multiply our final values together. So negative 4 times 7 is negative 28, times 6 is negative 168, square root of 2, plus 16 times 4 is 64, square root of 3. Last question, letter F. We have square root, or negative 3 root 5 times root 50. So we have a negative 3 square root of 5 times 50 plus negative 3 times 4 square root of 5 times 2. So 50 breaks up into 5 and 10. I have a pair right there that I can take out, and I'm not going to bother breaking 10 up because I know that it's going to be 2 and 5. It doesn't do me anything. And the square root of 5 times 2, that's square root of 10. That's not helping me any either. So we extract our pieces. We've got negative 3 times 5, square root of 10, plus negative 12, square root of 10. Now we can do our multiplication. Negative 3 times 5 is negative 15 square root 10 minus 12 square root 10. These have the same radicand, so we can combine them. Negative 15 minus 12 is going to give me negative 27 root 10. All right, those are our notes for today. If you have any questions, please bring them to class tomorrow. Otherwise, have a great day.